afternoon, I'm Sean Yao, and this is One News Now. All Filipino seafarers who went missing after the explosion in Beirut are now safe and accounted for. However, the number of injured Filipinos has tripled since yesterday. News 5's Marianne Enriquez joins us live right now for more updates. Marianne, what is the latest count? Can you give us the statistics on Filipinos in Beirut?
Yes, Sean, death toll in the Beirut blast is now at 135, while the number of injured has climbed to over 5,000. Some of the wounded are OFWs who have expressed to be repatriated as soon as possible.
OFW Ursula Gira sustained wounds on her face and arm from the massive explosion in the port of Beirut, just 5 minutes away from her employer's home.
Basta ang alam ko na wala na ako noon, na matapon ako na hindi ko na malayan. Kasi malakas yung pag-impact, yung dinig mo talaga yung dinig.
Dripping with blood, she tried to walk to a nearby hospital, but because it was full, she had no choice but to head back home and remove the shards of glass by herself using a first aid kit.
Kaya
Her daughter, who is a nurse, assisted her via Facebook. It was only the following day when she was finally attended by a medical professional.
Pinahinga yun na 10 stitches. Medyo lumabas kasi yung laman niya.
In her 9 years as a household service worker in Beirut, Ursula said this was her first time to experience such a terrible explosion.
Hinihingi ko na lang is makauwi na lang ako. Kasi talagang hindi pa naman siguro ako kung saan nanggaling yung pagsabog na yun, which is may bali-balita na una pa lang yun, may susunod pa.
She's not alone. 29-year-old seafarer Nestor Enrera, one of the crew members of MV Orient Queen, wants to be repatriated.
Pagtalikod ko po, yun na po, sumabog na po yung pinakamalakas na sabog po at tumalsik po kami doon sa pinagkakatayuan namin hanggang doon sa dulo nung nung pagkagising ko po, medyo nawalan po ako ng malay. Sa basurahan na po ako na gising.
He said they were trapped and needed to jump from the ship's deck to the port's platform. Fortunately, a fisherman brought them to a hospital. Nestor suffered minor injuries. They were picked up by their employer and housed them in a hotel. The Philippine Embassy in Lebanon gave them food and clothes. All the 13 Filipino seafarers from the ship were accounted for. 5 of them are still in the hospital. The cruise ship has now partially sunk next to the pier. They also asked the embassy to help them with their delayed salaries since February.
Nagproblema po kasi dito sa Beirut. Nagkaroon sila ng crisis dito. So hindi sila makapagpadala ng pera sa amin.
The Philippine Embassy in Beirut says the number of injured Filipinos has climbed to 24, while an OFW is still missing.
Sean, the Philippine Embassy in Beirut assures the public that they are assisting the affected OFWs. Meanwhile, those OFWs who are still in need of assistance are encouraged to call the embassy's hotline. Sean?
Thank you for that, Maan. That was Marianne Enriquez joining us live from Manila. And the Philippines might just be the new epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic in Southeast Asia based on a report from Singapore News. However, COVID-19 Deputy Chief Implementer Vince Dizon claims that the steady increase in COVID-19 cases is just natural. Camille Samonte with the details.
Active COVID-19 cases in the country has gone past 50,000 as of Thursday. That tops other Southeast Asian nations, with Indonesia at a far second with more than 37,000. The Philippines, as reported by the Straits Times Singapore, might just very well be on its way to becoming the new epicenter of the pandemic in the region, making the 2-week MECQ in Metro Manila and nearby provinces all the more crucial, at least according to an infectious diseases expert.
Pag nag-lockdown ka, dapat din vigorous din yung contact tracing, vigorous din yung case finding, testing, including monitoring in the workplace. Kasi ang nangyari kasi pag nag-lockdown ka tapos hindi mo naman gawin yun, walang mangyayari niyan. Pag i-open mo yun, then you're also opening more infections.
But the steady increase in cases is but natural since COVID-19 Deputy Chief Implementer Vince Dizon, especially with a higher testing rate compared to our neighbors.
What the data shows us is that since we ramped up testing, we have found more positives.
With the data
And our people have to understand that that is normal.
with cases.
COVID-19 Chief Implementer Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. said workplaces in economic hubs and informal communities are the most critical areas for COVID-19 transmission. That includes canteens and smoking areas where some fail to observe minimum health standards. Dr. Solante warned that employees should not be complacent even after testing negative for COVID-19.
Pag sinabing negative na ako sa RT-PCR, okay na ako. Yes, okay ka makapagtrabaho, but you should also still practice the health protocol. Oy, negative, positive ako sa antibody. It doesn't mean na wala kang infection or hindi ka mahawaan.
Galvez urges private companies to conduct compliance orientation seminars for workers. He likewise said that there's been an alarming trend of transmission via family reunions. For News 5, Camille Samonte, we are One News.
Over 3,000 new COVID-19 cases in the country have been reported today. And this brings the total infections to almost 120,000, at least 50,000 of which are active. Casualties from the virus have reached over 2,000 with the addition of 28 deaths. Meanwhile, over 500 new recoveries were tallied today, pushing the total number of recovered patients to more than 66,000. Biotech firm Musician is seeking not just to join, but disrupt the COVID-19 treatment race with a drug called Relivir. The company, composed of a team from the US, Europe, and the Philippines, said that Relivir is the first of its kind as it disrupts virus replication. Musician says it can be delivered intravenously or through an inhaler. However, they are focusing on the IV method for now, as it is shown to take effect faster. The company is now preparing for a series of tests on Relivir and its efficacy as a COVID-19 treatment.
In a couple more weeks, we should wrap up the first level of the first batches for our testing. We will then initiate and engage in animal studies and toxicity testing, and obviously we've been working with the Philippine agencies there to prepare for human clinical trials.
And with more than 150 government agencies put under lockdown, labor groups are calling for free mass testing among government employees. Adding to their worries is PhilHealth's claim that funds will only last one more year. The group Calacon said the government's contractual employees cannot afford swab testing and other treatments without PhilHealth. Labor group Courage said that the state should ensure sufficient allocation for public health.
Trilyon ang inutang ng pamahalang to sa iba't ibang sources. Hindi pwedeng sabihin na kulang lagi po. Arte-arte na, wala na tayong pondo. Ba't ang Vietnam? Bakit yung ibang mga bansa mas mahirap pa sa atin kayang responde?
We're pausing for a quick break, but One News Now will be back with more stories after that. Stay tuned. Sean Yao. You're still watching One News Now. PhilHealth Senior Vice President for Operations Augustus Davila has resigned from his post. He submitted his irrevocable resignation earlier today after a meeting with PhilHealth Chief Ricardo Morales. Davila said he will make himself available for the ongoing legislative investigation into the alleged corruption within the state insurer. Meanwhile, Senator Kiko Pangilinan said all senior officials of the state-run insurer should resign out of delicadeza. Pangilinan also called for the resignation of Health Secretary Francisco Duque III. And with classes set to begin in 2 weeks, some parents and teachers are still calling on the Education Department to postpone the start of the school year. JC Cosico will tell us more. He is joining us live from Mandaluyong. Hi, JC. What exactly are these parents and teachers' reasons for wanting the DepEd to postpone the opening of classes once again?
Sean, with the opening of the new school year just weeks away, some parents and teachers are concerned over the implementation of the modular system of learning. Now, some teachers are calling on the Education Department to postpone the August 24 school opening. As a single mother and a professional, Bethel Hernandez can't help but worry. The school year is about to start in a few weeks, and she's uncertain if she can give her 2 kids enough time to assist them under the modular learning setup.
Yung pagbalanse ng oras, ngayon ay focus pa ako dun sa work ko. But when my kids' schooling starts on August 24, medyo bagong adjustment na naman sa akin yun.
This teacher, who wished to be identified as Ruth, not her real name, has a different concern. She says she will physically collect hundreds of worksheets weekly from her students as part of the new setup. She's worried that her negative COVID-19 test result might be for nothing.
Magdi-deliver ka at saka magre-retrieve ka ng mga materials. Anong kasiguruhan na virus-free yung mga materials na mapupunta kay teacher?
Adding to her worries is her internet connection. It's low, and her 3,500 peso yearly chalk allowance is not enough to pay her internet bill.
Sa ngayon pa lang, nagja-jam na ang signal sa pagsabay-sabay ng paggamit ng internet. How much more pagdating ng pasukan, diba?
Education Undersecretary Diosdado San Antonio urged schools to be creative and gathering modules so as not to risk their lives for the job.
Pwede naman itong parang drop-box system na lang katulad ng ginawa sa enrollment.
But if left without a choice, he reminded them to just observe minimum health standards. The official also clarified teachers are not required to have network connectivity.
Yung walang access sa internet can use other means. Yung digital na mga flash drives ang gagamitin mo kahit wala kang internet. Pag may access ka sa yung digital copies na nalipat sa flash drives o mga CDs, ay pwede mo nang mabuksan yung iyong mga ituturo.
But these explanations did not convince the alliance of concerned teachers.
Ay kawawa na naman ang ating mga kaguruan na sila na naman yung mapipilitang gumawa ng kung anong mga pamamaraan para lamang maitawid yung pagbubukas ng klase.
They are urging DepEd to postpone the August 24 school opening. Sean, DepEd says they are on track with their preparations for the August 24 school opening. They also reported that over 22 million students from both public and private schools have already enrolled. Back to you.
All right, thank you for that. JC Cosico reporting to us live from Mandaluyong. Financial journalist Kathy Yang will be making the jump off camera after being tapped as PLDT's new communications executive. In a disclosure to the Philippine Stock Exchange, the telco giant listed Yang as its first vice president for corporate communications. The announcement comes amid the retirement of PLDT's public affairs head, Mon Isberto. PLDT Chairman Manny Pangilinan welcomed Yang to the company, calling her an excellent communicator and a journalist of unquestioned integrity. For more updates, follow News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Sean Yao, and we are One News.